we see a big white room where a Japanese man was lying down. Suddenly when his eyes opened, he got a little scared seeing himself in this big empty room. After some time, he started looking around. When he went near the wall, he saw that something was coming out of the wall. After investigating a little, when he pressed the edge of that strange thing, he saw that thousands of baby angels started coming out of the wall, but in a short while they all went back inside the wall, only a small part of their body remained outside. Then the man understood that this strange looking what is thing. After knowing the truth of that button, the man started smelling his finger. Then he made a lot of noise so that if someone was around, he could help him, but when he did not get any response, he started pressing different buttons one after the other. New things started falling in the room from each button. Sometimes a toothbrush would come out, sometimes a big bouquet. He calculated that only a particular thing came out by pressing a button, and to check his theory, he made a pile of chopsticks by pressing the same button again and again, but the next on pressing the button, a shopping cart came out quickly and hit his leg with force, due to which he started screaming in pain, and when he pressed the next button, it transformed into a child's ass which farted on his face. After this, he took a lot of extra things by pressing different buttons. When he was playing with a ball, that ball hit a button which brought out a delicious Japanese dish called sushi. He was very happy to see this because he was really hungry, and he was thinking that it would be fun if he got more soy sauce along with sushi. And even after pressing the button again and again, only sushi came out every time, so he quietly started eating whatever he got. After the food was over, he ordered more, and this time a bottle of soy sauce came in front of him. He threw the bottle away in anger because it did not come when he needed it. Then on pressing the next button, he got 3D glasses, wearing which a baby angel started pointing towards the button. He was very happy to see that he has found the secret of the room, but on pressing the button, a countdown started, and at the end a huge butt came out from the wall which finally farted on his face. After pressing a few more buttons, he found a book which he found very interesting, and he read 5 parts of it in a few hours, but when he pressed the button to read chapter 6, then part 7 came out. Frustrated by this, he pressed another button, but even that came out only parts 8 and 9. In the desire of the book, he pressed more buttons, but then he saw a door behind him. He was very happy to see it and thought that finally he can get out of there, but in his excitement he forgot which button it was, so he started pressing all the buttons. On pressing the first button, an African man went to the other side of the wall. On pressing the second button, water started falling on his head, but finally the door opened in the third attempt, and as soon as he left the button and started going towards the door closed. After trying a lot, he understood that as long as the button is pressed, the door will remain open, so he took a running position and stood towards the door so that he can reach there quickly, but before he could reach there, the door closed. After this, he tried many ways to open the door. He tried all the tricks, but none of them worked. He also tried to reach by sitting on the shopping cart, but all was in vain. After this, he used his brain and put a bouquet on that button, but it was not so heavy that it could be pressed, so he tried to fill it with water by pressing the water button, but the water did not fall anywhere except on his body, so he used his brain and filled the bouquet with sushi, but he mistakenly put that bouquet on another button, after which that African man came running and the bouquet also broke due to hitting him, so he started shouting in anger. After this, he tried small tricks, but the door would close every time. Then by mistake, a rope came down on pressing a button. After that, he guessed that he could reach the door quickly by swinging from the rope, and it happened too. But when he tried to open the door across the wall, he found out that a key was needed to open it, so he came back to the room before the wall closed, and when he kicked the wall in anger, a key started floating in the air, but like the door, this key also started floating as soon as the button was released. After a while it would disappear. Now he would have to find a way to quickly get the key and reach the door, but when he pressed the key button again, a dog came out of the wall and started barking at him. He got confused again because all the buttons looked the same. After this, he found the right button and put a piece of sushi on it. After failing a couple of times, he finally took the key and reached the door, but the trouble was still not over because there was a lock with a number on the top of the door. He quickly went towards the room, but while coming out, the door again hit his back with a thud. In frustration, he threw the plunger to the other side, and when it hit a button, the African man came out again. But this time he noticed that 3 numbers were written on the African man's head. Maybe those numbers would open the lock because the wall would close again and again. So he opened that lock in 3 attempts. The door seemed a little jammed, so he had to use a little more force. Meanwhile, the wall also went back down and there was not enough space for him to open the door properly. So he got frustrated and sat there and started crying. He was remembering the time inside the room. He realized that he had so much in the room that he could not go out now, and the things that he had with him were no longer there, and he did not appreciate them in time. Suddenly he felt a gust of wind from his left side, so he opened that fake wall and ran outside. The whole place was exactly the same. It seemed as if he was running in the same place. While running, he reached another room where the light was a little less. As soon as he entered, the door closed and a voice told us that this stage of life is called practice. The man in the room started pressing different buttons. With one button, fire started coming out of the singer's mouth while singing. With another button, the magic of a magician from Russia failed. On pressing the third button, a man in China started barking at his dogs. Then the man saw that unlike the previous room, this room did not have a ceiling, but light was coming from the ceiling where angels were flying. This time a very different idea came to his mind. Instead of pressing the buttons, he started climbing up by holding them. He was successful, and with the pressing of every button, amazing things started happening at different places of the world. Somewhere flowers would bloom and somewhere an elephant would slip. As he went up, so somewhere lucky draws started happening and somewhere men reached the moon, and by the time he reached the top, his beard and hair had grown a lot and now he did not need to hold the wall. He too was flying in the air like other angels. Then a voice tells us that he has attained the status of God and now the whole world will run according to him, and by the end white wings started flying around him which took him to the last room. On the wall of this room there was a map of the entire earth and the biggest button ever was also present there, and as soon as he moved forward to press it, the screen turned black, and if you could change anything on earth, then what would you do with this power?